Blessings, everyone. I'm Jules, and this is the DQ OMcodes. I'm going to call it a workshop, but it's really just a collaboration. And there are, for those of you that are tuning in on YouTube or on the Activate Evolution podcast, we have a live community with us today. So we will be opening it up to questions, and we'll be doing some processes here as well. So those of you that have been in the community for a while and you know a little bit about what DQ and OMcodes is, you have also seen that we have up-leveled and changed a lot in the last couple of years. So DQ stands for DNA DNA expression cellular upgrade. There it is. And then OMcodes, of course, is just OMcodes. And they really do go together in a way that we're getting to this place because we've been doing this for such a long time, and we have a lot of people that are moving into their mastery of both DQ and OMcodes. It's time to really bring them together, because to keep them separate is almost a disservice to all of the people that are really starting to dive into what cellular alchemy is. And another way you could say that is intentional molecular creation, because we are tapping into cellular intelligence and turning on that divine expression, source expression, and intelligence that is stored in the DNA, that we truly are changing molecular form. We are changing the way the cells are working in the body. We are, well, you could say we are ascending, or we are evolving what it is to be human. And this is all being done through an intelligence that is stored in our DNA. So when we start with DQ, we are teaching the cells how to shift identity. And that seems like such an odd thing to say. But right now, the way that our cells are working, and you could even put this as put a word epigenetics here, is that our cells are responding or observing the environment of our body, meaning our thoughts, what kind of food we eat, if we exercise. It could be genetics. All of those different things are creating the way that our cells are dividing. And over time, because our cells are in a third dimensional reality of a collective agreement of aging, we are also in a looping cycle that the cells will start to mutate or degenerate over time. And what we are proving as a community is that we can actually shift the identity of the cell so that we can start to bring it into a frequency that is beyond identifying as form or identifying in the looping cycle of age and disease. And when we start to do that, we really do start to turn on those dormant DNA codes so that they can start to express an intelligence beyond programmed reality, beyond the programmed body, beyond the chemical body. With that, so when we go in and we do DQ and we start to shift the identity of the cell, it can be looking at all of those programs that are within our looping cycle. And one of those biggest programs is aging. You know, now science is actually proving that aging is an epigenetic code. But what is so awesome about that is that an epigenetic code gets turned on, and it can also be turned off. Science is actually starting to prove that we have the ability to bypass programming and start to tap into an intelligence beyond that. And that's what DQ is. So with DQ, and that would be the first 3 weeks of an 8-week program or lecture series, you actually learn how to go in and read the programming that your cells are holding. You get to see the looping cycles that your cells are continuing to play out. And then you're shifting it into a frequency where you're starting to turn on those DNA expressions through source intelligence so that the cell can actually shift from identifying in the loops, you could say, or observing that reality that was created by agreement to what it is that we're observing. And we can shift it to the other side to where the cell is actually holding a frequency of an expression of a new identity. And this is all done through the technology that we teach in DQ. It is a divine technology, you could call it source technology. It's a step-by-step method that we all have the ability to do, and it's a lot of fun. I'm going to say it was a lot of fun just bringing this into a place where I could teach it. And now here we are. That was back in 2020. Right around when the whole world shut down was my very first class of teaching DQ. And here we are now in 2023, and it has just changed so much. And we have a lot more people in the agreement to what it's doing. So it is super powerful. Once we teach the body how to shift identity, once we teach the cells that it can shift identity, once we teach the cell that it can actually hold frequency beyond the identity of the looping cycle, and that we can teach the body that we don't have to keep looping. We don't have to keep agreeing to something. Once we become aware of what we're agreeing with, we can shift that and we can change the agreement, right? We can change it into a higher frequency of agreement. So why would we want to shift the identity of a cell? Well, really think about that. If we are teaching a cell that it can become something different, that's a big deal. We are literally teaching the body that it can go from one state of form to another state of form. And we are doing it through the DQ process. Then when we start to move into OMcodes, this is when it gets really fun. Because as you're shifting the identity of your cells, your consciousness is stored in the vehicle of your body. And right now, we think that our body is separate than consciousness. But the truth is, the body and consciousness are not separate. And as we start to allow the body to shift identity, we're also allowing our consciousness to know that we can also shift identity. And that's when life starts to get really fun, because we can shift from one place to the other. Those of you that are on a manifest journey, or those of you that are in creation of your next, this is one of the easiest ways to do it, is to actually program ourselves to become what it is that we're trying to bring into the world in that creation piece. Because when we are reprogramming the cells through source intelligence to turn on the identity of our next, our body is holding the frequency for us, and our consciousness is part of that. So our consciousness begins to shift with the body. I have a saying that the body will lead the way. I also have a saying that the intellect will not take us there. So this is a way of allowing the body to turn on an intelligence that is so beyond the intellect, but it's also attuning our consciousness to understand what it is to be something beyond what we can comprehend. This is being in the abstract. This is being in a frequency where we don't really know where we're going. But because the body is holding a frequency that is intelligent, we have something for our consciousness to attune to, allowing us to have the sensation of guidance, being held, clarity, all of those things, because it is an intelligence. As we move into OMcodes, we really start to go into the DNA. And OMcodes is turning on very specific frequencies of source intelligence. And the frequency is extended out of the cell into the body and is teaching the body, get this, to start identifying as frequency. So first we teach the body that it can change from one state of form to another, from one place of identity to another. When we move into OMcodes, really think about what I just said. We teach the cells to start identifying beyond form altogether. Now think about what state of consciousness that would hold. That our consciousness no longer identifies in form because our body is identifying in frequency. Talk about the 1 to 10, you guys. This is really turning on the mastery of what it is to be human. Because when we're not identifying in the I am, if we're not identifying in form, and we truly start to identify in frequency, we are no longer identifying in programmed reality because we are identifying in something beyond observation altogether. And that is an extremely high state of consciousness. It's an extremely high level way of being, but this is the next of human evolution. And we all have the ability to do this. And I can say, when I first started teaching DQ, that's what I love about stepping in and actually teaching something that I didn't even think I could teach. That's the really fun thing, is at the time, I didn't even know if I could teach it. And then when I saw that I could teach it, I was immediately given the next step, which was OMcodes. And so the message I kept getting was just keep coding, just keep coding, keep coding, keep coding. So I kept coding and I kept coding and I kept coding. And I think it was January of 2021 that I taught my first OMcodes class. Again, I didn't know if I was going to be able to teach it, but I had some really brave souls, and Kathy and Denise were part of that group that sat in this class, and I taught it and they understood it. And I'm going to say that it was challenging to actually shift from identifying in form to identifying in frequency, but they did it. They proved that it was possible. And we had this saying during that class that I had been doing on my own as I was coding. And what I was saying to myself is, I am the way, I am the one, I am the first. Meaning I'll be the first to shift the body out of the looping cycle of age and disease. And when I'm getting chills, you guys, saying this. And when I had that first class, we changed it to we are the way, we are the one, we are the first. And here we are 2 years later, and we're proving that this is not only a possibility, but a probability. And that's what we're inviting everybody into, that feels that that is part of their purpose, that they feel this fire inside of them to know what is possible. We have 90% of our potential, 90% that we're not using right now. And I'm not talking 90% of the mind. I'm talking 90% of energetic responses of the body that are firing, but they are not connected to intelligence. They're not connected to our consciousness. When all of those electric responses start clicking together and go online to the intelligence that's stored in our DNA, and you can call this dormant DNA if you would like, just imagine what we're capable of. It's very exciting. So I'm going to go back to opening it up to discussion for questions or reflections, anything at all. Yes, Kathy.
This is totally possible. About 3 months ago, everything shifted for me. My body took over. I've been listening to my body. Um, I changed from a really hard case of diabetes. My blood sugar was almost 400. I'm now maintaining between 80 and 125. It just shifted. And so now I'm I totally listen to my body. My body shows me the way. I even did a DNA test, and it was youthing 6 years. I got another one getting ready to come in, and we'll see how the telomeres and but it's not to prove anything. It's just to let everybody know that this is totally possible.
I absolutely love it. And that's a really good point too, Kathy, that it we are actually proving this now. And Kathy, the way what Kathy just said is how we're proving it. We are doing DNA testing that measures telomere length, biological age, all of those beautiful things. And then we're coding with very specific frequencies. And then we're going back and doing it again. And it is proving that we are reversing aging. There's now testing out there that we can connect science to what we're doing, which makes it even more fun, right? Because we can actually see through testing what it is that we're doing on a frequency level. That's exciting. Thank you for sharing, Kathy. Let's go with Rebecca.
Hi.
Hi.
Kathy made me think of a question that I've been thinking about, which is about how the body tells you what it needs. And I absolutely agree with that. I get mixed up sometimes though, in terms of like when talking about food in particular, like I'll have a strong clear, I need some broccoli or whatever, and that feels good. And then, but there's also a strong clear, I would like, chocolate, or I would, something else that maybe isn't so great. And I know that part of that is because there's programming in my body that to crave things maybe that aren't so good for me. And how do you differentiate that kind of thing?
In the beginning, I feel like the easiest way, and just to for you to know that a lot of times when we crave chocolate, there are antioxidants in chocolate, and it's not a bad thing, especially if you're doing a lot of cocoa in it. So just keep that in mind when you're craving that. But one of the easiest ways is, do you know how to do a yes or no with your body if it sways forward or backwards?
Yeah, I've done that in the past. Yeah, I can
That
try
might
that.
be just an easy way to just start with that. And because what it does is it first of all, it brings you to a place where you're not here. And it
Right.
brings you into the body. And then you have to kind of click, right? You have to click into the intelligence of the body for it to do it. So you're again doing another step into tapping into the intelligence and then asking from there. So at least you've gone from here to here, and then you're asking again. And then if you, that's the other part, is like, we are always going to choose things that aren't always going to be for our best and highest potential. And it isn't about shaming ourselves for it. But one of the things that I want to say is that if we're super conscious about why we're choosing it, then we're doing it at a much higher frequency than just unconsciously choosing.
Right. That makes total sense. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Sandy?
I just wanted to share about my experience over these last 2 years. And do you remember when I would talk to you about pain? You haven't heard me talk about pain in a year. Chronologically, in the 3rd D reality, I'm 86 years old. I cannot tell you, I feel like a teenager. I walk for an hour. I ride my bike for 50 minutes. I do stretching exercises. I can't even believe the energy that I have. And I find myself so accepting of what's ever going on and not having, I don't remember the last time that I really got angry. I mean, it's not that there aren't still lessons to learn and things come up where I find resistance. And I look at that and go, okay, I'm resisting. I can feel it. And I watch the story go on in my mind, but I'm so much more aware. And I also want to tell you that now with going through these more accelerated courses, that when I get the depth of what I'm still holding on to, I almost, from deep inside me, scream out loud because I need that release to let go of whatever I'm still holding on to. So I love you. I love the work. If those that are listening for the first time, you will not recognize who you are after you start to use the tools and absorb the information as it becomes part of you. It's a beautiful gateway to remembering and experiencing something so beautiful inside of you that can't be described in words. So, Jules, thank you. Thank you.
Sandy. Thank you. And so we have a couple of questions of how this connects in to breaking quantum and these more the other classes that we have. And there really is no separation in all of this. We learn a little bit at a time, but they all are bringing us into the space. What I love about this 8-week class is that you learn how to trace your own frequency. You learn how to trace your own programming. And you also learn through the technology, the evolution technology, how to shift the cells from observing programmed reality or the programming that it's holding into an expression of source intelligence. And it's a tool, right? It's a tool that we practice, that we do over and over again. This was the beginning of my journey in really advancing. I think I don't know, because I didn't know there was a test that you could take to see what aging was. But if you look at my picture from 5 years ago, I look at least 10 years younger now. And that's all by reprogramming on a cellular level. And the consciousness that has accelerated by doing this, I can't even explain. I mean, the levels that I'm holding, I mean, most people say they don't even understand what I'm saying anymore. So there are some occupational hazards in this, but I can say I know what I'm saying because I'm speaking through the intelligence, right? And that's what I want everyone to come hang out. Let's all do this together because it's so possible. So how does it connect? It is a tool. It is a tool that's going to take you into how to read your cells, how to shift the identity of your cells, and how to start identifying through cellular intelligence and frequency. This is done on a cellular level, cellular alchemy, intentional molecular creation. And it's also done on a conscious level because you are consciously participating in the shift itself. Denise?
I just had to share an experience over Christmas. I married my husband who had been divorced and had 5 children. And so they're all in their 30s and 40s now, some of them in their 50s. And anyway, we were together at Christmas and all the kids were the grandkids were sort of in one corner of the room and they were all kind of looking at me and talking. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And he said, you don't look any different from the day we first met you. And we've been married for 25 years. So in their, except for the gray hair. I didn't have gray hair back then. So except for the gray hair, in their opinion, I still look the same. And I think that that has a lot to do with all of the work that I have done with the identity within the cells and the recoding with the OMcodes within the DNA of each of the cells, within the DNA itself. So yeah, it really does work.
Thank you for sharing. And it's little things like this. I mean, it's fun, right? We like to have confirmation for the practice and the work that we're doing. But the more advanced that we get in this, the more advanced those confirmations become, right? There is going to be a level of observation of the shift itself. And that's what we call actively participating. Until we actually become 100% source intelligence, there's going to be an observation of what human evolution is. And there's consciousness within that. And that's all that we're doing and experiencing as a community. And it is a very powerful experience. So what I think I would like to do is let's do a process. We'll do a universal process and experience what it is. I'm going to grab so I can write down our code. So we're going to do a DQ and then we'll do an OMcodes and then we'll read what the code is. So also just a really quick, for those of you that are thinking about taking this journey, this is what it is, the OMcodes DQ journey is. It is an 8-week class. It's going to be 3 weeks where you're learning the DQ method. On week 4, you're actually going to learn how to read the universal language of numbers through a card. They're little cards. They look like this. So this is our little deck, which all has 3 levels of the language. And so you're going to start to learn how to read frequency beyond words. You're going to start to be able to communicate through the consciousness of numbers. And then from there, you're going to move into OMcodes. And for 4 weeks, you're going to learn how to recode the DNA to hold source intelligence and expression. And you're going to learn the consciousness that goes with that. And so we're going to give you an experience of what this is. But I think it is important just to kind of know what the course, like what the setup is. And so as you're experiencing this, when I'm saying these numbers, know that you're going to learn what these are. You're going to know why we turn on the codes. You're going to know what the codes are saying, so that when you're starting to attune your consciousness to the frequency of the codes themselves, you have something to connect to from a linear space of where you're thinking, knowing that your body is actually holding the consciousness in a language beyond linear time. So it's connecting the way you're thinking now to what you're becoming. And it's a very powerful place to be. So let's just all shut our eyes if you would like to. If you want to bring your hands to your heart, you're welcome to. We're just going to tune the body really quickly by breathing in, and you can breathe in that beautiful rainbow light. These are 7 rays of light that hold 7 states of consciousness. And these 7 states of consciousness bring the body into that 0 point. We can allow this light to absorb into the mind and into the heart space. And just seeing these beautiful rays of light into the bloodstream. And just noticing as it starts to move through the body, that your body starts to shift in frequency. Just feeling that light absorb into the blood. Just allowing yourself to relax into no space and no time. And then from here, we're going to move into the pineal gland. And we'll be shifting right into the advanced or the ascended cell And the cell is connected to every cell of the body. And we're just going to read on through the collective as a group, any programming that needs to be cleared. Give me one moment. So we're going to clear through the first evolution symbol, and all I want you to do is just bring your attention to the center of your mind and just feel a frequency move into the center of the pineal gland and begin to spin. And as it's spinning, it's clearing the program of the fear of not existing, the fear of losing identity, the fear of change, the fear of stepping into 100% potential and what that means, what that looks like, what kind of changes would be made. And just letting the first symbol clear this out, bringing the cell into 0 point. And then we'll bring through the second technology or symbol, the 7 elements of the rainbow light, allowing the cell to hold consciousness in 0 point. And then we turn on the expression of source intelligence, allowing the cell to identify in the frequency of I am the one, I am the way, I am the first. And just letting every cell of your body hold this expression as we move into the nucleus of the cell, as we trace the double helix, identifying the code that we'll be bringing into source intelligence. This is just a code that has been turned on through the observation of programming. And I found it, so we're bringing our attention to -8, 5, 1, 7, 3, 5. And we'll allow this to move into random form as it pulls through the double helix into source intelligence, as it shifts to particles of possibility. And through this intelligence, the ascended code of positive 22, 8, 5, 3, 7, 9. And we'll allow this code to sequence and move into expression. And as it moves into expression, it activates electric responses of the mind, allowing consciousness to connect to this intelligence with clarity, guidance, and wisdom. And as the ascended cell moves into expression, every cell of the body holds this intelligence, activating the electric responses of the body. That 90% of those electric frequencies, allowing them to click together, holding this intelligence. Just seeing your body light up as frequency, knowing that this frequency holds the intelligence of source, holds the intelligence of who you are at 100% source intelligence. Now allowing your consciousness to merge with this frequency. Allowing yourself to have the experience of your body at 100%, even if it's just for a moment. Letting yourself breathe into that. And then we're going to lock that in. And as you're opening your eyes, allow yourself to see through the intelligence that had just turned on. See through the expression of this frequency. And just notice how your body is feeling different. So I'm going to read the code so that you all have some guidance on what frequency or intelligence that was just turned on. So it started with the 22, which is that master creator. So you are starting your journey in connecting consciousness to this intelligence in mastery. And it's the mastery of what is being created. And the creation is the ability to exist in an eternal frequency beyond observation, meaning that your eternal existence is the creation of what your vehicle is. It isn't separate. You are the creation of the eternal pattern. And I don't mean that in what we think it is consciously. Think of eternal beyond a timeline. Think of eternal as a state of being that is creating the shift of creating a way of being, a way of communicating, a way of actually existing in particle form as an intelligence. That is what your code is saying. So the 22 is mastery. The 8 is that eternal pattern. It's the ability to be in a programmed reality of time beyond time. It's the ability to exist beyond time and space. And that is creating a shift. That's the 5. That goes into high level of creation. So you're the creator and the creation, that creative energy of the 3. And the 7 is the ability to communicate or to participate in programmed reality without being in programmed reality, which allows you to exist in the eternal in the frequency of what we would call that source intelligence, but you're still holding it in form. This is what I call it, this is the journey that we're creating here. You're moving from particle form to particle wave to particle intelligence. So you're shifting. So are you going to still be form? I'm going to say most likely. I think what we're proving here is that we can be in form without creating timelines. We can actually exist without observation. Well, how do we do that? We start identifying in frequency. We turn on source intelligence in the DNA, whether we're doing it through coding or we're doing it another way. And then we start to identify in that intelligence until we become that intelligence. At that point, we move beyond observation. And at that point, we will find out what 100% human potential really is. And that's the journey that we are inviting you guys into. So with that, I'm going to see if there's any last minute questions or if anybody would like to talk about their experience. And we only just have, we'll stay on for just another few minutes if anybody has any questions. Is there anyone that has any questions? Yes. Yes, we will. So for those of you that are listening on YouTube or the podcast channel, we will put the link below to learn more about the DQ OMcode journey. And I just want to celebrate each of you as even just taking this one step to hold reflection in what's possible and what is probable. So we just sending you so much love, and we invite you to go to activateevolution.com to learn more.